algebra friends, if you have found your way to this video, you have decided that factoring using the box method is probably going to be your jam. So when we're using the box method, we're looking at this quadratic trinomial. So A is the coefficient of our first term, B is the coefficient of our second term, and C is our last term, it's our constant. So what we are looking for in this polynomial, I want to find out what multiplication problem did I start with to get this as my answer. So we start by figuring out what numbers multiply to A times C. So in this case, my A is 2, my B is 13, and C is 6. So I need to know what numbers multiply to 2 times 6. Well, 2 times 6, or A times C, is 12. So what pair of numbers is going to multiply to 12 and add to B? Well, my B term is 13. So this should start looking a little familiar. These are those diamond problems that we were doing. I need a pair of numbers that multiply to 12 and add to 13. So some numbers that multiply to 12. I would have 1 times 12, 2 times 6, 3 times 4. And which pair adds to 13? Well, 1 and 12. So I know my two magic numbers here are 1 and 12. So what that means is that when I was multiplying using my box, I know that in my first box, my answer here would have to be 2x squared. In my last box, my answer here would have to be 6. And I know these two boxes, these add up to give me that center term. And my two factors that add up to that are 1x and 12x. So now I just need to figure out what was multiplied together to give me this answer. And to do that, we take the greatest common factor from each row and from each column. So if I look at my first row, I can factor out 2x from both of these. If I look at my second row, well, these don't have anything in common, so I can only factor out a positive 1. From my first column, these have an x in common, and that's it. In my second column, these both have a 6 in common, a positive 6. So what that means is the two binomials I multiplied together to get my answer were 2x plus 1 and x plus 6. So that is my factored form. The multiplication problem that I would have started with was 2x plus 1 times x plus 6, and it would hopefully give me an answer of 2x squared plus 13x plus 6. But we can check and make sure that that was the right answer, because we should always check our work. So if I check, I'm going to be multiplying this problem back out. And if I multiply this problem using a box, might as well go all in on this box method. So I'd have 2x and positive 1 here, x and positive 6 here. So when I'm multiplying, 2x times x is 2x squared. 2x times 6 is 12x. 1 times x is just 1x. 1 times 6 is 6. I know my like terms are right here on this diagonal. So I would have 2x squared plus 13x plus 6. And that is exactly the problem I started with. So I know my answer checks out and is correct. Let's do one more problem on the inside. before you move on and do the rest of these on your own. So let's go with this top problem. X squared minus 2x minus 8. So for this problem, my a, the coefficient of my first term, is that invisible 1. B is negative 2. C is negative 8. So when I'm filling in my diamonds, I am looking for what are my two numbers that are going to multiply to 1 times negative 8. Well, that's negative 8. And add to negative 2. So what are my pairs here? Let's see. If I'm trying to get to negative 8, I know one of my numbers has to be positive and one has to be negative. So I could do 1 times negative 8. I could do negative 1 times positive 8. Neither of those are going to add up to negative 2. Let's see, I could do negative 2 times positive 4. If I add negative 2 plus 4, I get positive 2. So if I switch that, 2 times negative 4, this pair is going to work. So that tells me my two magic numbers here on the side are 2 and negative 4. So when I set up my box, I know in my top left box, I would have 1x squared. In my bottom right box, I would have negative 8. And the two terms that add together to give me the negative 2x are negative 4x and positive 2x. So when I'm looking for what got multiplied to give me these answers, I'm taking the GCF from each row. So my greatest common factor of 1x squared and negative 4x would just be x. My greatest common factor of 2x and negative 8 would be 2. In this direction, my greatest common factor of 1x squared and 2x, well, that's just x. My greatest common factor of negative 4x and negative 8, well, I could take a negative 4 out of both of those. So that tells me that my binomials were x plus 2 and x minus 4. And that is my factored form. So now your job is to go ahead and try the rest of these problems. Make sure you check your work as you're going through. Don't get through all 8 and then check your work at the end to find out that you did them all wrong. Check for every couple problems that you're doing. Good luck. Have fun.